Today, we're diving into the realm where culinary artistry meets culinary commentary and where bold ideas challenge the status quo. My guest today is the creative force behind Cleaver and Blade, a brand that has captured the culinary world's imagination with its unique fusion of food, pop culture, and provocative themes. But Cleaver and Blade doesn't just push the boundaries, they shatter them with designs that make you think, laugh, and sometimes even question. They built a loyal following by refusing to play it safe. Today, for the first time ever, they'll reveal a groundbreaking announcement exclusively on this podcast. And trust me, it's big. We're also going to explore their unapologetic takes on politics, religion, and the intersection of art and activism. Topics that most brands steer away from, but not this one. Strap in, because this episode is unlike any other. This is Chef Ismael's Kitchen Quest, and I'm your host, Chef Ismael Torres. Let's get started. Who is Vladimir? And tell us anything that you are, willing to share.
Well, I was a chef. I worked in the restaurant industry all of my life. And working in the restaurant industry included this Cleaver and Blade because I worked for you, for my audience, people that work in the restaurant industry. So posting relevant stuff, even though I wasn't working in the restaurant industry, was very important for me to keep up with it. So all the memes and all the stories and all the write-ups that I did was consistent with my life, with my take, with things that are occurring in the restaurant industry. I love you guys. I love the restaurant industry with a passion. But I think we'll go on about who I am in a whole as soon as we keep on talking about. But I am a chef and I am a cook and I am a creative. So if you ask me what I am a creative.
That's awesome. So when did you decide that you wanted to be a chef? What inspired you to go into that journey of being a creator and as a leader as well?
I used to work in a restaurant in Taos, New Mexico, which I live here in Taos now. It was Ogilvy's restaurant. I used to work as a busser, and I loved the dynamic of serving people. I was a busser, and I kept on getting pulled by the kitchen guys. I love their the way that they communicated. I love the way that they joined. I love their click. It was them, the kitchen, and then there was everybody else, right? And I love that. I love that friendship, and that's what kind of pulled me in, because I was making tips and I was making an hourly, and then I wanted to be a dishwasher just to be there in the back of the house to work with these guys. So I went from busser to dishwasher, and from dishwasher, the chef started making me do prep on the side, and then I would do prep, and then as time went by, I ended up in the line cook. As a line cook, and then I became a kitchen supervisor, and I moved up the ladder. But I love the restaurant industry again, just primarily because of the social network in the kitchen, in the back of the house. We are blue collar employees. We're blue collar workers. We are society. We build the United States of what we are. The blue collar people are the reason why America is so great. I believe that. If it wasn't for them, the billionaires or the millionaires or the bosses wouldn't have employees. So, and in essence, I really believe that the blue collar employees is what drives America.
So you mentioned the millionaires, the billionaires, just now, and I've noticed that there's been a lot more politically motivated memes that you came up with because of what's going on in the world at the moment.
Right.
what is it that inspires you to do things like that? But also, is this something that I guess I want to say, because it seems like you have no fear in terms of the backlash of what this platform gives you, as or even like what your followers are watching. um I don't want to get into specific details on certain types of politically motivated things that have happened in the past few years, as we all know. But what is it that motivates you to speak from that point of view? Is it something that you are passionate about? Is it something that you want to be able to show who you are, or maybe be in like show what I guess show your perspective and educate the world?
I think it's a very important question. Thank you for asking it. I think that everybody in society needs to have a voice of what happens in America or wherever they are. I think everybody should have a voice. I've been sent messages, DMs, and emails on to telling me to stick to memes. They're coming to a restaurant meme page. They're not coming for my political take. Well, politics plays everything in in the restaurant industry, from the cost of goods to the cost of labor to the rent, to everything that we do in the restaurant industry. It's very politically inclined. Our voice depends on who we vote for, and who we vote for makes those decisions of what happens to our costs and our revenue. Chefs are not cooks. Chefs have to own and respect the kitchen from every stance. It is being a chef is an extremely complicated, complex job, because if you really think about it, the success of the restaurant lies on the chef's back. We have to buy products. We have to inventory the product. We have to sell the product as soon as possible. We have to make menus from the from the product that we buy. We have to be very smart when we actually interview people, when we fire people. Everything that we make a decision on in the back of the house can make or break the restaurant. So being tuned into what's happening in politics is very important. And I understand that you're looking for the hoo-hoos, ha-has in a sense, when you come into Cleaver and Blade's page or meme page, right? But in reality, if we don't speak about it, where's our voice? Where is Why would you want to silence yourself and censor yourself and not have a voice on what is happening around you? Are you becoming part of the problem? If you do not take a position as a brand or as a person or as a human, you don't take a position. Isn't it important for you to actually have a voice? A voice of what's going to happen to your business? I mean, we saw it with COVID. Yeah. We saw it with many things. Right now, we keep on seeing it. We're seeing the tariffs coming around. What's going to happen to us? What's going to happen to our people when all of a sudden robotics comes into play? Why aren't we talking more about it? Because now that things are going to get a little heavy here in 2025, 2026, with the immigration, and if they implement robotics, people say, well, you shouldn't worry about robotics. Nobody can replace cooks. Nobody can replace dishwashers. We don't know that. I mean, Chili's is sampling robotics as it is, to cut down costs. So where's our voice? And if we keep quiet and we keep allowing things to just happen, then where are the problem? Where to blame? I mean, and all of us were parents, right? And if we don't say something and we don't talk to each other, then we're allowing the millionaires and the billionaires and the politicians to run over us. And that's why I speak about politics. I will not tell you who you should vote, but I will tell you that you should vote. You know, you you should go. I mean, here's the other thing is that over the years I've studied a lot, about algorithm. So uh, Instagram, Facebook, they will implement to you. They will tell you. They will keep in your algorithm things that you like. So they will keep you in an echo chamber. Are you looking outside of that echo chamber to look for information? I mean, that's a question for all of you. Are you looking outside of that echo chamber, or are you just allowing algorithms to give you the information that you need? And that you make your decisions on is because an algorithm has placed that in front of you. So that's why I sometimes speak out of it. And I also sell products that is not norm. um, I've got a lot of death threats. I've got a lot of backlash over selling saints, pop culture saints. I love the art. I love the art that I sell. I love it. Uh, why? It's because it's actual art. And number two, because it it speaks against authority, speaks against what is the norm, quote unquote, the norm. So um, I love intriguing and being intrigued. I love questioning, and that's what being a misfit is.
Yeah. Um, I could definitely see where you're coming from with that. I think I mentioned to you what happens over there matters over here. And, the whole thing with what's going on with the tariffs in Mexico, a lot of our produce does come from Mexico. So that definitely would hike up the prices, such as avocado, one of the prime examples, right? And it's not so much of like it's the government versus the government. Right now, it's more like government versus organized crime. And so we need to be able to understand as chefs where and how is this going to affect us and how do we move forward from there, right? One of the things that I personally did was um, right before the whole Russia and Ukraine thing kicked off, for whatever reason, I had a feeling that Russia really was going to follow through. And in that point, I ended up purchasing a lot of wheat product. And why? Because Russia is the number one exporter of wheat in the country, in the world. And so because of that, when I had purchased what I needed to purchase in terms of wheat goes, right? The the next week they did what they did, and now the price of wheat went up. And so when when I couldn't agree with you more with how you said that, are we entrapped with the echo chamber of what Instagram and Facebook is showing us, right? They're only showing us what we want to see, not what we need to see.
Right.
And so it's extremely important that you pointed that out, and I really like the way you articulated that. But let's go ahead and into the religious part of it, because this is something that a lot of people weren't too pleased about, and I want to know how you navigated through that.
Well, I'm not. I am uh, vaccinated against backlash. I don't care what people say about me. I don't care how people feel about me. I've learned that, this cancer culture, cancer that we have in the United States, or in because of social media. Social media it's a weapon. People use the social media as a weapon to say, hey, you are doing something wrong. You shouldn't say that. Be damned that you say that. Don't say that, because you should be better. Be better. Why do you do this? And how we're going to punish you is we are going to tell everybody not to buy from you. That's censorship, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's cutting you revenue. And what bothers me about it is when cancel culture comes in, right? They cancel culture, chefs or businesses. They do not think about the little people that are working for those organizations, right? Like, I got cancel cultured by this girl about a couple of years ago, because she caught me in a bad day. She sent me a message telling me, asking me in Etsy, which is a horrible app. And she messaged me and she said that she wanted a refund, and that she did not want me to send her a product, blah, blah, blah. And she said that she had made a mistake. And how do you order something as a mistake? And then when I asked her that, she said that she was going to take me to TikTok, right? Take me to TikTok and apply the cancel culture on me because I responded to her. So here came the backlash, right? So then I got all these DMs, telling me that they were going to come and they were going to kill me and they were going to shoot me. They were going to do this. They were going to do that. Cancel culture Vlad, cancel culture Cleaver and Blade. But they don't think about all the businesses that I worked with in New Orleans. All the people that it actually affected. They thought that they were going to punish me, but they were punishing everybody around my business too as well, right? From all the purveyors, the employees, and everything else that I had at that time. Do you think that that's fair?
No, absolutely not.
And that's what happens with cancel culture. And when it comes to the religious icons, it was the same thing. So like, people come at me and say, we want you to take this down. We do not want you to sell this product. If you do, then we're going to cancel you. But they don't think about the effect on the people that are working or the industry that is behind it. Because I have to buy boxes, I have to buy candles, I have to be buying cleaning solutions. Well, everybody gets affected by it. And the same thing happens in the restaurant industry. Some chef does the wrong thing, and then all of a sudden they punish the restaurant. And then guess who's hurting? That single mother who's a server, who's trying to feed her child, is not getting tips, but getting a backlash because of what a chef has said or done. Is that fair? So that's what I think about cancel culture. So I'm kind of immune about it. I personally think that the art that we sell is extremely, the artist is extremely talented. He does everything from scratch. He draws from scratch. I have a lot of respect for him. I think that the images that he represents, they speak for itself. He doesn't disrespect them. We've had celebrities endorse the products. We have celebrities order the products. So why would I care what some people say? Why should I censor myself for just a small pocket of people? Is that America?
Right.
We have the freedom of speech.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that. That's crazy. That actually happened. The the amount of backlash that you had, like, you definitely have to have some sort of some thick skin, and that's something that chefs do have, right? Thick skin,
right.
and to be able to handle the amount of pressure that we go through on a daily basis, not just by the guests, but also from the owners, the team, the purveyors, and so forth. Um, So I want to get into essentially so I want to get into the how do I say this? The following that you maintained, right? So you've had Cleaver and Blade for a very long time. I've been following your page for a very long time as well. And everything you've said, I could definitely agree with. And then some of the things you've said too, some is stuff that I don't agree with, you know. But we're all entitled to
Absolutely.
our position, and how we feel about it, right? Because I wouldn't be authentic if I told you I agree with everything you said, right?
Correct.
So one thing you mentioned, I guess in our talk, when was it? A couple days ago before our meeting here, was that you wanted to talk about a huge announcement that you wanted to make. Um, I'm not sure if you feel comfortable mentioning that right
No,
now,
no,
or if
we
you,
should announce it. We should absolutely announce it now.
okay.
Um,
So yeah, go ahead.
so ladies and gentlemen, after in 2017, I created this brand out of nothing, and have evolved. And I want to be truly humbled and grateful to every single one of you. I love each and one of you. Um, and I want to thank you for all this time that you have given me. You have inspired me more than you know. I follow you. I watch you. I've seen you grow. I've seen your lowest points and I've seen your highest points because as the brand owner, um, I didn't just sit idle and just create content. You inspired me with your content yourselves. I looked for rhymes and reasons why I would post things. Um, it, it is 2024, and I want to let you know that I will be stepping aside, and Greg from Gypsy King will be taking over the brand as of January 1st. Um, I think that the brand would do a lot better under his hands than will be able to do. I'm doing this in a way where I truly believe that Greg will do right by the brand, right by me, right by what we created together by taking it over. Uh, I have not worked in the restaurant industry since 2017. And I think it's a little unfair for me to be talking about the restaurant industry if I'm not in it. And I really think that he is more equipped. He has a team and he's going to be pushing together content that is more relevant to what Cleaver and Blade really is. Uh, it is a brand for misfits. It is a brand for the oddballs. It is a brand of friendships and brotherhood. That's what Cleaver and Blade is. I, I cannot give you that anymore. I have expired my time here in Cleaver and Blade. I built it, and I think he's more suited to take over the wheel and follow through to the well-being of the brand. So as of December 31st, I will no longer be running. I will no longer be associated with Cleaver and Blade. He will be taking over. I posted. I went ahead and I closed the website, and I didn't want to push out any more products until he took over. Um, Dan Secco, he reached out and he told me that he had an article. I reopened the website just for him because he's been following us since day one. So I posted that blog for him, and that's the only reason that the website is open. Otherwise, I'm not selling any more products. All the product belongs to him, to Greg, and he's going to be creating more art. He's going to be creating more products. But yeah, so that's my news.
How does that make you feel?
Good. It makes me feel great. Like I said, I think that he's more equipped to do what I can't do. I really don't think that a business should have a CEO that lasts for too long. I think that fresh blood is important, but the right fresh blood. So
Yeah. So now that Cleaver and Blade is no more for you, what is next for Vladimir?
I have a bunch of projects that I'm currently working on. I am a writer. I am writing a lot. You can find those articles on my Facebook page or in my Instagram page. But I'm very, um, like I said in the beginning, I'm a creative person. So um, I love to create, and sometimes it's not for the good sake of for Cleaver and Blade for me to be speaking too much about things that I think about that is outside of the restaurant industry. So it's important for me to step aside and have someone that is in the restaurant industry talk about things that are in the restaurant industry. So I have projects. I'm doing art. I have a big project, a big website that I am opening for imports. I'm doing websites, social media marketing, consulting, but I am stepping away from the restaurant industry. So I couldn't give you, listen, to all of you, I couldn't give you any footage of me working in the restaurant industry. I'm sorry. I am not working in the restaurant industry. I'm busy doing stuff for the website. I'm not equipped to do that for you. So that's why I think that it's best for someone like him to do that.
So the Cleaver and Blade brand has been there for since 2017. What is the key takeaway you took from that? What was something that you learned from I guess navigating and managing Cleaver and Blade, not only as a CEO, but also as a human being?
Algorithms, learn about algorithms and how they influence people, how we have to be careful, how we have to be aware of what we're fed. Um, we're fed in different ways. We're fed food to stay alive, but we're also fed things in the internet on how we view ourselves and view our neighbors and view our fellow people. And that's why I guess we're so separated. We're so divided as in America because of social media and algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I learned.
So, what was the most challenging part of trying to grow Cleaver and Blade, and how did you navigate through that?
Um, the fact that there is a lot of restriction on free speech and social media, you can't say what you want to say and social media. So you have to work around it to be able to say. You'll put a post and you'll get 30 likes, and then you put another post and you'll get 28,000 likes. Right. So obviously, some things are faster. So you just have to be smart. You got to be looking at your information in the back and see exactly what is what you need to when you need to post and what you need to post and stuff like that. So yeah, censorship to your answer.
The um the amount of I guess how do I say this? Uh, there's a lot of work that gets put into Cleaver and Blade, not only just the social media aspect of things, but also the managerial, right, portion of it, whether you're managing the artist, you're managing the printing of the shirts, the ordering of the candles, and so forth. Is this something that you were able to apply as a chef, uh, and then apply it to what you do or what you did um, these past, since 2017? Is this something that you were able to transition seamlessly, or is that something that you kind of had to like work on because now you're working with product that's non-perishable, right?
Mhm.
So, how did you navigate through through those?
First of all, you can't manage an artist. An artist
Right.
is going to be an artist.
Hmm.
You got to let go of any kind of idea that there's any management of an artist. An artist is going to do what an artist is going to do and when he's going to do it. So you have to be very respectful, not patient, but respectful to the artist.
Hmm.
Working with all the artists that I've worked in my life, you have to be respectful of their ideas because you're not asking them to do a painting or a drawing for you or a piece for you, but you're telling them this is what I need. Tell me, how does it reflect in your eyes?
Yeah.
Right. So it's the same thing with chefs. Chefs are artists in my eyes. Chefs are artists. Uh, I'll give you a bunch of ingredients and then you create, here's your palette. You know what your palette is, you know what your tastes are, but I'm going to give you a canvas, which is your plate. You put together. And as a chef, I'll tell you that I can tell you what cumin tastes like, and I can tell you what oregano tastes like, but I can tell you what sauce I can use, what ingredient into. If you put in curry or in a chili, for example, it's gonna taste funny, but you should know what a curry tastes like, right? So you have to allow the artist to be the artist. You got to give them space, time, and you have to curtail any kind of management because they're not a line cook. Um, so, but from the standpoint of the print shop, I have been very okay. So keeping the costs down as low as possible, but getting a high quality inputs. That's what you do as a chef, right? I mean, that's what you do. That's what we do. That's what our job is. Our job in the restaurant, in an essence, is to take a bunch of products and then have it produced, create your mise en place, and then take that mise en place and create your plating, but keeping your prices as low. And I think I talked to you before this, like I made my sauces from scratches. So using the trims, the trimmings of all the vegetables to keep my costs low and have authentic tasting food is very important. Using bones, using the chicken backs to make my stocks, um, my shrimp shells. Have my preppers. They're taking the shell out of the shrimp. They're going to use the shrimp to fry to make po' boys or to use whatever, but then you take the shells and then you freeze them, and then when you need them, you use them in a stock for your seafood stock. So keeping your costs as low as possible is very important to keep a business alive, and that's as the business owner, how much does it cost to buy a poster and how much you're going to sell it for. And then there is also the expense of what happens if USPS or UPS doesn't deliver the product, or the product is broken. So I have to send another product. So then I have to also take in consideration that that might happen. So I got to make sure that I send back to the customer another product. So that cost, who's going to pay for it? All that kind of stuff is part of running the business.
Yeah. It's always the logistics sides of things. Once it leaves your store or your shop, it's completely out of your hands at this point, and you kind of have to anticipate, whatever challenges might arise.
Right.
So you kind of have to think on the fly type of thing, where similar to what a chef can do when you have to 86 a product where you didn't anticipate to sell this many scallops in 1 week.
Yep.
And so, I mean, with that being said, what was the I guess the logistics sides of thing? You have to relearn you have to essentially train yourself on how to manage, or not how to manage, but like how to, you have to retrain or train yourself on how to understand the logistic sides of things, and then also to the negotiations part of it. Your product, the was it difficult to find items that were, I guess, beneficial for you in terms of the quality as well as the pricing, or was it something that you had to like have a connection in order for you to be able to do that?
Absolutely, you have to shop around. I see a lot of memes and stuff like that about screw Cisco, F Cisco, but in reality, Cisco is on. You kind of need it. If you're a big mom and pops and you're growing, you kind of need it, especially if you're in a small market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Give you an example. So this farmers came in and asked me if they can sell me some tomatoes, and I said sure. I make pico de gallo and I make other stuff with the tomatoes. So we got sandwiches. So can you give me 20 to 40 cases a week? No, we can't. We can't produce that much. There's no way that we could produce. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
I have to look for a bigger purveyor, right? So it's the same thing that you said one thing earlier, and it is true. It's your supply chain. It's very important. And as a chef, you should know how your supply chain works, right? Hey, Greg. So if you don't know your supply chain, then you're going to be dead in the water when something goes wrong. And that's why I always recommend when I opened restaurants, or I did consulting for restaurants, I always told people, don't rely on only Cisco. Yeah, Cisco is huge, but it's not enough. Chef Torres, shout out to you. So do not rely on only one person. Always be looking for other purveyors to be able to supply you with stuff. So it's the same thing in this business. Business is business. You have to buy low and sell high, right? But there's a market cap where you can only sell a product, a candle, for so much until the customer doesn't want it because it's too expensive. A person's not willing to buy a candle for $50. They're not. So you have to be careful. You have to be very aware of who is eating your food, who is buying your art, and how much are they willing to pay for it. So business. So that's my answer to your question.
Yeah. No, it's definitely kind of difficult to balance both a mom and pop farmer versus trying to go with Cisco and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, when you're trying to run a business, you do need the product, obviously, right? But also you want to do the right thing to do is to help out those small businesses who are trying to work towards their
Right.
dreams. And I want to say almost most of the time their product is 20 times better than what Cisco can provide, because you're getting fruit that is freshly harvested versus what, how long has the, for example, your example, the tomatoes, how long have they been in the warehouse for?
Right.
You know, they could have been there for a week, they could have been there for a week and a half, and it's, obviously it's temperature controlled and they're going to try to maintain the best quality that they can possibly do. But at the end of the day, it's like you have to order to your specifications as well. So,
Yep.
um,
It's the same
yeah,
with everything, with meats. You have you have a certain things that you are promising the person on a menu, and that bothered me about working in Louisiana corporate. Um, and I will say whatever I want. I'm very uncensored, but I work for a company in the French Quarter that would say that they were selling local Louisiana seafood, and they weren't, right? And that to me is blasphemy.
right.
That is truly blasphemy. When you're selling crawfish from Asia because you want to be too cheap, but you're saying in your menu that you're supplying from the local community. That is a lie, and I don't buy that. Um, but back to the farmer of the tomato, I would buy their tomato to make specials, right? So I would make my specials with those tomatoes, but I can't produce my pico de gallo with it. Number one, it's expensive. And number two, they can't provide enough. So my pico de gallo is going to be very inconsistent.
Yeah.
So that as a chef, you have to, and also as special should be something that you're showcasing. So you might use some more expensive ingredients, fresher ingredients to wow your customers. So you kind of have a balance that you're only going to have, let's say, 25 orders or whatever you're going to have. So it's very important for as a chef that you are really nailing down your costs and you're balancing what is a horse plow and what is a dog, what is a star, which items you're selling a lot, but you're making not a lot of profit, but they're selling. You have to be balancing your food costs at the end of your quarter. You kind of have a sense that you're going to keep it under 29% if you're a steakhouse, 25% if you're a Mexican restaurant. There are bars that you don't want to go through. And in the restaurant industry, I hear a lot of people say, well, as a chef, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. And I think I talked to you, Ismael, before. I hear a lot of chit chatter and that chefs should not be in the office. Chefs should be in the line cooking with everybody else. I cooked. I was in the line. I've been there. Now I have to negotiate prices and I need to work on the menu so my sous chef can execute it. And if I can't get you those prices and I can't talk to my vendors, I can't get you a good price on the lamb, then I'm a line cook. I'm not a chef. So it's important for you to, as a chef, it's important for you to know that you're consistently switching that hat. And you should be able to clean your fryer, learn how to break down a fryer and know exactly what's wrong with your fryer if it goes belly up, and teach your fry cook how to fix it or call the right person to come and fix it. As a chef, you should know all that stuff. You should know every square foot of your kitchen should be utilized well, and you shouldn't have inventory that is just sitting there month to month. You should that. I mean, it's being a chef is a very it's a it's a make or break of the restaurant, unless you're going through packaged food, right? So I just disagree with the notion of, oh, chefs should be on the line and cooking with everybody else. No, they shouldn't. They should be working. They should be teaching. They should be coaching. They should be negotiating. They should be walking around, tasting the prep, making sure that each prep item is correctly done and it's consistent. So the line cooks, when they're putting it together in a plate, it tastes the way that the chef prepares the plates. Right?
Yeah.
Or am I wrong?
No, no, you're absolutely right. I think that's something that we did talk about that last time, and I think I couldn't agree with you more on that one because the only reason I believe that, and the reason why I was on the line too was because it was a super busy lunch or dinner, and they needed that backup.
Yep.
But also I'm there as a moral support, and if they see me moving with a sense of urgency, if they see me tasting the food, if they see me sautéing or plating or whatever I'm doing, garnishing, then the team will follow along because you as the chef has to be the trendsetter, right? And I think that one of the things that definitely motivated my team was them seeing that I had a sense of action, a sense of like responsibility to push forward with a positive attitude and to push forward with a good work ethic.
Right.
And so one of the things that I've always said that one of the key lessons I learned as a chef wasn't from another chef, wasn't from a cook. It was actually from a former Navy SEAL. And it said, he said, you know, I would never ask you to do something I wouldn't do myself.
Sure.
Right. And,
Sure.
and so as a chef, you've done it all at that point. You've broken down fryers, you worked on, you know, coolers, or you've been able to organize your walk-in, your freezer. And then at that point, now you're setting the standard for your team.
Yep.
Into understanding what you expect of them, right? As a chef, as a leader.
Right.
And so I agree with you that yes, as a chef, I'm there to also not just lead, but also to manage the restaurant, manage the food costs, manage the front of house, making sure that the front of house is, you know, running the food that needs to be ran, or else the food dies on the line.
Right.
And you know, just things like that. Having the pre-shift meetings, explaining to them the menu, explaining them the specials, explaining to them this is how I want the servers to hold the plate, you know, and things like that. That way there's no fingerprints on the plate. And that's something that I still go through, even as a private chef. When I hired, you know, servers under my dime, I'm just like, hey, this is how I need you to hold the plates. This is how I need you to, you know, conduct yourself in a professional manner, in a friendly way. Maybe it's a laid back type of event. Let's enjoy, or whatever it is, right? So I think that's something that as chefs we have to do, not just work the line, but also manage everything else. And I think you mentioned this too. Actually, I want you to answer this. How important is a great sous chef?
It's highly important. But all right. So a general manager should never hire the staff of a chef. Clear point. I will never allow, if I go back into the restaurant industry and I'm hired by either the general manager or the general manager. That's one of the things from the beginning. They do not have a say on who gets hired in my kitchen, right? I want to hire every single body in that kitchen, and I will empower my sous chef to learn how to properly hire people within time. I think that it is highly important that the chef has 100% power over his domain. And it's not being a control freak, but I've seen it crash when you have someone coming in and is hired by the general manager, and then they have alliance to the general manager, and there's going to be that crash of the general manager talking to the executive chef saying, well, try working with that person. How about you try to work with that person? Why don't you bend the rules for that person? Because we gave him a chance and we're paying him $60,000 a year. Well, why didn't I hire that person? Why didn't I make the ultimate decision on who is responsible of my staff, right? Who's actually training my staff? As a matter of fact, I prefer to raise my dishwashers to line cooks, my line cooks to management. That's my preference, because then they know exactly. And one thing that you did say is earlier, which I agree with you, chefs set the tempo of the restaurant. So you walk into the kitchen and early in the morning, what do? You turn on the music, right? You turn on the coffee maker. You flip the Coke machine for the guys that are coming in and want, their Mountain Dew or whatever, and then you start. You turn on all your things, and then you're there throughout the day, and you're just that little fire throughout the day until in the evening when you flip in from a prep cook chef, you flip into the quality assurance guy who's pulling the food out of the hot window and making sure that each plate is going out right. Especially on a Friday night, I think that a chef should work every Friday nights and watch that food go out. I think it's very important for him to be in watching his plating to go out. Why? Because then there's a standard that everybody has to follow. That the fry cook or the grill cook knows exactly what is expected out of their position. The preppers are prepping exactly how you want things, because ultimately what the plate that people are eating is a mirror of the chef. So it is highly important for you to be able to choose who's a sous chef and who is actually running the kitchen when you're not there, right? So I think it is crucial for the chef to have complete backup of that sous chef, to have not be screwing around with the staff and not be playing around with the staff. And one thing is being a misfit and going in there as an athlete. And I can't tell you guys enough, in the restaurant industry, in the back of the house or the restaurant. And this is a highlight that I will give you till the day I die. You are not hiring family to run your restaurants. You're hiring athletes to run your kitchens. And let that sink in. If you hire somebody and you hire them for a position, you want the best in that position, you're not looking for a family member. You're looking for an athlete that is willing to go above and beyond for the team, because we are a team. We're not a family. You're getting paid. We build families around each other in the kitchen. Oh, so and so is having a get together Wednesday nights. Everybody's gonna go. We're gonna do a little whatever between the staff, and we're like family. Great. But the restaurant is not setting the standard that this is like a family. This is like a bunch of athletes getting together and playing ball. And I want the best for that position, for a fry cook, a flat top, a grill. I want the best for the salads. I want the best for the, and if I don't have them, I'm going to train them. That is my responsibility, to train my staff members like athletes. They might not be the best then, but they will be the best when I actually execute that menu. So I think that BS of, oh, we treat people here like family is outdated. I'm paying you for a job. And I think that the restaurant industry needs to get into a sense of, we need to start raising up our prices and get paid for each staff member a livable wage. So instead of charging someone $10 for a burger and trying to compete with Chili's because Chili's gets corporate pricing. Every year they get better and better pricing the more and more they buy. So you can't compete with them if you're a mom and pops. You can't compete if you're a mom and pops or a small restaurant or a private chef. You can't compete against the pricing that Chili's gets. And for you to go and try to charge $10 for a burger nowadays with the pricing is stupid. Sorry. You should be charging $25, but you should make sure that each plate is perfect. And on top of that, you gotta make sure that you're feeding and you're paying each of your employees well, because you're charging enough to be taking care of your staff. It's all economics, and it makes sense if you look at it in the perspective of, you are in the business of people, so you need to take care of your people. But you cannot undercharge. We cannot keep on thinking we have to compete against box chain restaurants to try to stay alive. If Betty Sue and Johnny want to go to Chili's tonight, let them go to Chili's. But if they want to come to my restaurant tomorrow, they're going to get a better service, but they're going to pay. And that should be in our mind in the restaurant industry. And I do not respect the National Restaurant Association because of all the money that they're paying to keep the minimum wage as low as they try to do. So I know that probably you're going to hate me for this, but I don't care. I don't think that the National Restaurant Association is working in our benefits. I think that they're working for the benefits of the restaurants who donate money to them. So I think that we should be paid in the restaurant industry a livable wage where we do not have to worry about paying our bills. So that's my 2 cents. Sorry.
No, definitely. Yeah, I think you're right on that. You couldn't have said it better. If we're serving people, then this restaurant, if we're in the hospitality industry, then we should also be, benefiting from that too as well. And that's one of the things that I do with my team. I pay them a fair wage. It's way above the minimum wage here in California, at least. And they understand my policy in terms of tipping, which is tips are never expected, but always accepted. And when my team does get tipped on top of the wage that I'm giving them, they're extremely happy with what they're doing. Because they make more working for me for 4 hours than working, at a restaurant for 10 hours. And it's a lot less work, because sometimes they're only dealing with a party of 22 people versus a restaurant for 8 hours, they're dealing with 100 plus people. Right. And so it's a lot easier for them. It's a lot less stress for them, and, it benefits them. And on top of that, my clients or my guests, they will always get that undivided attention from that server who I hired because I have a good relationship with them in terms of like knowing them professionally as well as personally, right?
Right.
And so I think that's extremely important. And then on top of that too, with the cooks, I have my cousin who comes down to from Las Vegas to help me out, and so him taking the time, he was like the executive sous chef in Caesar's Palace and Palazzo and all these mega restaurant or mega hotels. He comes down and he helps me a ton, and he takes a pay cut because he cares. He wants me to succeed, and I think that's a huge thing for me, because if he could do that for me, I can pay it forward to him and I can pay it forward to my team.
Right.
And at the end of the day, my clients and my customers are the ones who benefit the most out of it. But yeah, no, I definitely understand where you're coming from with that.
And Greg from Gypsy Pig, I mean, he just put in, pay your team well, they will perform well.
Yes.
You have less turnover, which is twice as expensive long term, which that's a important thing. I mean, for example, for what I understand, Greg, you can go ahead and correct me, but he's known Kevin Bell for a long time. He's worked with him. If he wouldn't take care of Kevin, and Kevin was struggling to live, and knowing that Greg, is barely scraping by because he's not charging enough, then there's a problem on the business plan. So as a restaurateur, or as a business, you have to think, okay, what are the finances? How is this going to make it work? Because we cannot make it work, exploit. And that's the thing with the restaurant industry, is we're so backwards here in the United States. It's we want to thrive, but we want to compete against the big box businesses. So we're gonna try not to charge enough so we can stay competitive. But then we're gonna have to keep on hiring people, which what Greg says, and we keep on hiring people. We have to train them again. We have to spend money on their uniforms. It's a new person that we have to integrate into the team. You're always chasing your tail like that. I think that if we start thinking, I'm going to hire Chef Kevin Bell because he is the best on the game, and I'm going to pay him well, I expect him that he is going to execute well. And I expect him not to come in half drunk for his shift. I'm going to expect him. I have these high expectations of him, but he has high expectations on how well he's going to be financially taken care of by the business. And not necessarily talking about your business model, but I'm talking with the whole restaurant model that I've seen over the years. Is we are in the restaurant industry, we keep on hurting our staff by trying to compete against fast food restaurants and big box casual restaurants, right? And like Greg just says, again, holding people accountable, and they must have ownership without being micromanaged to death. That's to the point. Again, and that is one of the main reasons why me and Greg, I'm pushing Greg into the position, and we're making this transition. It's because he has those ideals, and because of it, I feel like I'm antiquated, and he is still on the game, and he's gonna be in the game, but he has those same rhyme and reasons why I think that the restaurant industry, how we should be operating now, how we should have outlooks. People shouldn't be struggling. People shouldn't be getting paid $8 an hour and as a dishwasher and try to survive. It's absurd for me to have watched that in New Orleans in the French Quarter. Dishwashers getting paid $8 an hour, adults getting paid $8 an hour. Then where are they living? How are they able to pay for their bills? and what are our expectations of how they perform at work. So we have to, as an industry, we need to come to a realization of the restaurant industry. We are in an entertainment business. So we're there to entertain. So when a customer comes in to the business, they should have they should be entertained. The atmosphere should be great. The service from the moment that they walk in and they've been walked by the hostess, welcomed and walked into the table, all the way till your food is served, and everything should be seamless, perfect. And if it's not, there should be addressed as fast as possible to be taken care of. That should be the motivation for someone to keep coming into your restaurant. But at the same token, we should charge. We should charge. We should charge for our product and not undersell ourselves. And we're underselling ourselves by selling food for too cheap, trying to compete with big box restaurants. We're so worried about keeping costs as low as possible so we can give it to the customer. Well, what kind of customer are we getting? Are we getting the customer, the people that they come into the restaurant and they complain about everything and anything? Is that the kind of customers that we want to keep?
Yeah.
You know, in my business, Cleaver and Blade, that was the notion, is that if you didn't like my art, don't buy it. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. I don't want to hear it, because I have 1,000 people for you to tell me that you don't want me to sell it, but I have 1,000 people that have purchased the product. So who are you to tell me what to do, right? So, but I am gonna take care of that 1,000 people, and I don't care what you have to say, right? Because you're not my customer; they are. So I'm gonna work for them and not for you. So in that token, that's the idea of how we should operate in the restaurant industry, and also the overall standard of the people that work in the restaurant industry. We should not be struggling to pay our rent. We should not be going to those cash check places to get a loan and have to pay a percentage for a check that is going to be coming next week. There shouldn't be that much struggle. If restaurateurs, if the owners are expecting us to work so hard, it shouldn't be so hard for us to actually survive.
Completely agree with you. I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I've been a victim of those payday loans. Horrible, horrible. Freaking on top of that, like 200% interest rates. It's disgusting. And it was definitely a difficult way to live. And
Yeah.
then you have to manage to work two jobs.
Right.
And then, in my circumstance, I had a newborn, right? This was 12 years ago. And, had to, take care of him, take care of myself, pay the bills, and all that stuff. And I think it was difficult because I did miss a lot of his childhood, in terms of, because I'm trying to compensate with the pay that I had, and then on top of that, pulling out loans to buy diapers and food, and to pay the bills, the rent, right, and so forth like that. So it was probably one of the hardest times in my life, and I had no idea how I was going to get out of it. And luckily, I was able to, and I managed to grow from it, and learn from it too. And so at the end of the day, I think those are the I couldn't agree with you more on that. I think, kind of what Gypsy Pig just said right now, profit over people. These are what these big companies care about most, is profiting. and versus taking care of their team and trying to create a good following with your team. I think that's extremely important to have. So I wanted to ask you, I guess, one last question, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. Um, what advice do you give to the young cooks who are just coming onto the game, and who aspire to become chefs? What do you always, I guess, recommend them do?
Do not do not go to culinary school until you have worked in the restaurant business. Work in the restaurant business. Give yourself a few years to work in the restaurant industry. Switch around, move around, go from one restaurant to another, and then make the decision if you want to go to culinary school. But do not go straight from high school. Not be talked to by this phony culinary schools to go from high school to culinary school directly. And I'll tell you why. I've had in New York, I've had in Arizona, I've had in New Orleans chefs that are coming, quote unquote, chefs that are coming out of culinary school with this mindset that they're chefs and that they know everything. You put them in the line, they don't know shit. Sorry. They don't know anything. And they can't keep up with the staff. I expect my team to work as athletes. And these guys, they might know their 5 mother sauces and then may know how to create a recipe. Well, that's great. How about breaking down your fryer? Do you know how to filter your fryer? No? Okay, well, step aside. Let me show you how. Or let me have this other guy, Julio, teach you how to do that. But I'm not, you want me to pay you more than I pay Julio because you have a degree? Really? It doesn't work like that. I'd rather pay Julio more because he's been working since he's a dishwasher. He's been moving up, and I'd rather pay him more than pay you because I have a budget as a chef, and as a chef, I need to know how much I'm paying each person, and that budget needs to be, it needs to be tight. So I'm not gonna pay someone to walk into the restaurant and say that he's a chef coming in from Hyde Park and he knows everything. Well, that's great, but what value are you bringing to me, to the restaurant, right? So, with all humbleness, my recommendation is, if you want to be in the culinary school, do not listen to the Food Network. Food Network is BS. It's all made up. Is working on a Friday night when the chef is down your throat because the salmon is taking too long. That's reality. That is reality. But then having that rough back to say, okay, I'm getting yelled at, but it's just a second thing. The chef just wants the plate as fast as possible. I got to get it out as fast as possible without me freaking out. That's reality. This stuff that they're teaching you in Food Network is nuts. So go out, work, stage, work for different chefs, work in different environments, and learn that is truly what you want to do for the rest of your life. At that point, go to culinary school, pick up some of the things that they had to teach you, come back out, you know exactly what you want, right? But if you're gonna go and you're gonna do the opposite, good luck. As far as people that are in the restaurant business and you're moving up, my recommendation. This is a good one. If you're moving from a line cook and the chef wants to put you as a supervisor, think about how much is it going to cost you to get into salary, and how much if it's worth for you to be on salary. Do not take the position and think the salary is a great pay. Think about how many hours. Let's say you were working 40 hours with 10 hours of overtime, how much you were making as a line cook, and then think how much salary is going to be when the chef is going to put you at 50 hours or 60 hours, and if it's worth it. Think as you are the business. Think of yourself as a business person. You're an athlete. They want you to be the best that you can be in that position. Think of yourself as an athlete and be yourself. Learn how to negotiate. Is it enough to feed your family? Is it enough to pay your bills? If it's not, then don't take the job. I think that is one of the biggest things that I can tell for front of the house and back of the house servers going into management or line cooks going into management. Please think about what I just said. Learn how to negotiate as you are a business, because if not, you're going to get eaten alive. You need to learn how to negotiate for yourself, because they're not going to look after you. They're not going to look after your benefits. They're looking at a budget and they're adhering at a budget. They're going to keep up at that budget. So if it takes you to work 70 hours a week, 80 hours a week, is that $60,000 enough? Is it enough in New York?
Not in LA.
Right?
Yeah.
That's my recommendations.
Awesome. That's such great advice. I think that's probably that answer definitely reflects my answer too when people ask me what advice do you give a young chef, and I think you absolutely go to a kitchen, learn as much as you can there, and if you decide to, or maybe like a person like me, right, I've already capped. So if I go to corporate and I decide to be their executive chef, I won't be able to go into becoming like a director or a vice president or something like that, because I don't have that piece of paper. Right. And so now I decided to go back to school, get my business degree at least, because I can't go to culinary school now, because as a chef, I don't have the time to stop what I'm doing and go into a classroom and show them that I can brunoise something, I can chiffonade, I can make Espanol sauce. I don't have the time to go into that class and prove that I can do it. So business class to me is probably the best next thing that I could possibly do for myself, because not only am I going to learn the aspects of how to be a leader, but also the accounting, right? The bookkeeping, the laws, and all that stuff. So that to me is practical knowledge for me to go back into like, again, the corporate world and say, yeah, I got a degree in business and I'm also a chef and I've been doing this for a set amount of years. Right. In my case, 17 years I've done it for. Okay. So that to me is like I should be able to stand out versus everyone else in the workforce. Now, I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Cleaver, or, Vlad. I think you have definitely helped my page out a ton. You've and I think I've expressed it to you where I message you, these long messages where I say thank you for what you do for me, but not only for me, but for the community as well. And I've always had high respects for you, high respect for the page, for the chefs. And I I wish you nothing but the best of luck moving forward in your future endeavors. And I really do hope that we get to do a part two to this because there's so much more to speak to you about. There's so much more to learn from you. And, I want to be able to still pick your brain from your experience and your time in the kitchen because there are other questions where I had where it's like, oh, you worked in New York, you worked in New Orleans, you worked in, what was it, New Mexico,
And Arizona.
in Arizona. So like, there's so many different styles of cooking in those four areas alone, and we don't really have too much time for that, but I definitely would love to have you on again, whether you're doing, your whatever project you're doing next. I still want to know what's going on with you, and I want to keep up with what you're doing for your future. But overall, from the bottom of my heart, I sincerely appreciate you supporting the community, and I think I think I speak for everyone when I say, thank you for your time at Cleaver and Blade, and the amount of growth that you've helped me with is, I can't repay you enough. I bought a shirt, but like, that to me is like, that's so small compared to what you've done for me. So thank you.
Do us a favor and cut and clip this podcast and share it with everybody, and tag me as a collaborator, because I think some of this information people should have available to them. I think that some of the stuff that we did talk about is very important for people to know and keep talking about. I'm telling you, from my experience, what I've seen, what is fair and what is unfair for our community, and as humans alone, I think that we should have a lot more. We should be talking more about that, because it's not fair of how the blue collar community in the United States is being treated or taken care of. So I think it's extremely important that we have those discussions. And there's a rhyme and a reason why I chose you to do this interview, and that was because I wanted to be very thorough, and I wanted to make sure that things are spoken about. How in reality it is. Our job is not glamorous. We come home smelling like food. We're cooks that have been cooking for 40, 50, 60 years. They have problems with their backs, with their knees, with their hands, with their, they get arthritis. That stuff we don't talk about. But we do talk about Bobby Flay. We talk about Guy Fieri, but we don't talk about the reality is that we love what we do, but it is at a cost, and the cost is us. We put ourselves into that fire, and we are allowing us to get consumed, and we're not thinking as business people. We're thinking ourselves as just another commodity. I want to thank you so much for your time, and I want to thank to each and every one that stepped in this interview. I love you very much. I think that Greg is going to be an amazing person to take on Cleaver and Blade. For the reasons I said, I think that he's better equipped than I am at this point in my life. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much, Vladimir, and best of luck with your future endeavors.
Have a great day, guys.
You as well. Thank you.